And we start the programme then with some good news about a long-held French hostage. Olivier Dubois has been released nearly 2 years after he was kidnapped by al-Qaeda-linked militants in the north of Mali. He's now in neighbouring Niger, and it appears that he was freed at the same time as a US aid worker who was kidnapped in 2016. Well, the precise circumstances of their release is not yet fully clear, but to talk about what we do know, our terrorism expert, Wasim Nasser, is with me. And Wasim, thanks for coming on the programme. I suppose a crucial question at this point is whether or not a ransom was paid by either the French or the American governments. Do we know right now?
Well, actually, we don't know, and we know that the official position of the French and the American government is not to pay any ransoms. So we don't know, actually, but we should know, too, that negotiations with jihadi groups to liberate hostages are not solely or entirely always about just ransoms and money. There's many things to be negotiated between jihadi groups who are actually insurgencies in those areas and the local government and even a foreign government. Just remember when Soumaïla Cissé, the Malian, deceased now, Malian politician, was released with Sophie Petronin, who was the latest hostage, French hostage in Mali before Olivier Dubois. We know that money was paid for Soumaïla Cissé, up to 6 million, but that Sophie Petronin got liberated only as an exchange of prisoners that were held in Malian prisons. Up to 200 names were given by Al-Qaeda to be liberated, among them some prominent jihadis, some of them who the Americans refused to allow the Malians to release, but some of them were only just foot soldiers of the group. So this was more political for Al-Qaeda to say to the local populations, look, we liberated so many people. So it's not only always just about money, knowing one more time that the official stand of the American government and of the French government is not paying any ransoms.
And the pair are now in Niger, even though Dubois, for one, was kidnapped in Mali. And the Americans today saying the Nigerian government has been a helpful partner in all of this. What do you make of that kind of language?
Well, they are right, because it's not the first time that Niger gets involved in such a liberation of an American citizen, because they got involved in the liberation of a woman who was kidnapped in Burkina Faso and was liberated with their help. It was a surprise for everybody at the time, but she got liberated in Niger and through channels of negotiations that were opened by Nigerian authorities and the Nigerian president himself with local groups. So, of course, today also Niger is being involved in this liberation because it's not a secret. Niger has channels of negotiations with Al-Qaeda affiliates in the region. And even at one time, they tried to negotiate with the Islamic State, which failed. But this is not very just particular for Niger. Even Mali had some channels at the time. Burkina Faso had some channels at the time. And this is the way it goes because we are talking about insurgencies. So when you have insurgencies, you have to have channels of negotiations added to the military effort in order to counter them. And sometimes it ends up helping in one hostage situation or another. You have to remember also that here with you, Nadia, when we talked about the interview that we made with the head of Akim, he said very clearly that the French authorities know the circumstances of Olivier Dubois being taken hostage, and that the ball is in on their side. And so this maybe also hastened the good outcome that we have today, because it was a public speech that counts into the equation.
Yeah, nice to have a little bit of good news for once on the programme. Wasim Nasser, thanks very much indeed for telling us a bit more about the circumstances of the release of the French journalist Olivier Dubois.